here's how we take care of the chickens. Walk down here. There's this way. Watch out for the loose step or two. Keeps you on your toes. And then you come over here to our storage area. Unlock by hitting the schlag button, which I can't really do. There we go. And then that allows you to open that. The lock is set backwards, kind of altered itself in some weird, funky way. The code to lock the door, let me show you real quick, is 33718. And then you have to pull on the door and turn the knob at the same time, which was not very suave of me to take a video of that in the other hand. Unlock, schlag button, lock is 3718. Okay, and then over here is where we have our chicken feed. There is fatty grain and protein grain. And the fatty grain, they get 2 scoops of this and 4 scoops of the protein grain. And the scoops are in here. This is the scooper. It's very professional, reusable. A scooper is that full one. So 2 scoops of fatty stuff, 4 scoops of protein stuff. I put it here in this bucket. All the scoops I alternate so that it kind of mixes itself. And once I'm done with that, I'll show you what we do next. Sometimes when they're out of food, which you can usually open this door and find out, they're almost out of food, pretty close. They get kind of ornery. They start getting noisy and talkative. So I go into this bin. This is where I've got their goodies. This is chicken crack. It's mealworms mixed with fatty stuff. And I fill up this container and I take it over to them. Undo the locks. This one's already undone. There we go. Just sprinkle that around. And that makes them happy. So that they'll shut up, calm down, chill out, eat some fat and worms. Once I close that bin up, then I come over here. You can open this door if you want, get some fresh air if you need to while you're in there. Make sure that these latches are locked when you close, and the little doohaw is hooked on to the latch lock, because raccoons know how to undo the latch lock, and they'll come in here and they'll strangle everybody and maybe eat them, maybe not. Sometimes they just like to strangle chickens. So this is an old vinegar container. There's a hole in it where the handle once was. So I tilt it like this and it becomes a funnel that I put the food into. I will need to set the phone down to take a video of that. Okay, so I've got my bucket here of grain, and I just scoop and put it through the chute. And each tube takes about 1.5 scoops when it's empty all the way. And if you have leftovers, maybe their tubes are not all the way empty, this is here anyways. Then if you have any grain left over that doesn't fit into the bucket, then just toss whatever might be left over in your bucket if you have any outside in the yard where they got their fat traps. And on this last little bit of the bucket, you have to pick up the bucket and pour it into the little dispenser thingy. That's that. Clean out the bottoms if there's a bunch of junk in it. Sometimes there's sawdust, feathers, whatever's. Clean out the bottoms, and then that's the food. The eggs are kept up here. Chickens are really messy and dusty, so expect that up here. And they do have some eggs today. They're starting to lay a little bit better. I'll clean this nest box out before we go so it's a little nicer to collect eggs out of. We have these fake wooden eggs that encourages the hens to sit on and lay their eggs. They will all move them into one box. There's 2 boxes, but typically one of them gets greedy. And you can take these eggs. They are yours to eat. The water container is basically this tube, this poly tube that we cut holes in so that the tube, the 5-gallon bucket that we fill up, sits upside down with the opening down in here. And then that gives a little bit of an air gap so that when the water levels get too low, it takes from the 5-gallon bucket and then continues to feed it into this lower part of the bucket. And we have it set, you can kind of see the water line there, so that it never quite reaches all the way to the top and overflows. So the ducks can get their beak in there to clean from these holes, and the chickens can also drink. And this system goes together, hanging up, which is where you'll find it, hanging up on this hook right here. And when we set it up, we want the holes where they drink out of to face this side of the coop. And then the back side of the bucket sits right up against this wall radiant heater. It's not hot enough to melt plastic, but it is warm enough to keep the water from freezing. So that's how we do that in the winter time. It's a little tricky getting it on. I'll try and show you how to do it. You can see me fumble while I do it. Here's where we put our 5-gallon bucket, right beside the front door of our house. And we fill it up. And you'll see that there's this hose because in wintertime, hoses will freeze. So don't use this hose. This hose will freeze if you try to use this hose. We have this really short hose that connects to the water source. You'll have to unhook it when you're done, just like this. Unscrew. Almost there. I gotta switch hands, get a better angle. There we go. Okay. Make sure the line all bleeds out. That was kind of cool. It was doing a little water draw out of what we put in there. Okay, so empty that all out. Shake it out. Make sure it's empty. And then just hang it back up right over here. And let it sit just like that so that it doesn't freeze. Okay, so this is all very formal farm or ranch engineering right here. These things are the old handle. We cut it so that there's 2 of them on either side. I got my bucket in there. It's doing its job, sitting right in the middle of that tube. This part will come undone from time to time. You'll have to kind of finagle it back in there. And then once you get that done, then you take the other side, pretend that didn't fall down, and this little blue thing holds both sides together on top. You'll see when I put it together here in a second. Okay, check out how I do this. The only reason I'm explaining this is because it's a pain in the ass. Okay, hook them all up. Make sure your feeders are facing out. Find your hook before you lift it up. Here's my hook. I use my body to help me lift it up because it's going to be teetery when you lift it up. So I lift it up and lean it against my body just a little bit. Be careful, don't spill on yourself. Hook it up, center it, and make sure that it's fairly center and balanced enough so that when the hens poke on it, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to tip over to one side. It's going to hold its center of gravity pretty well. And then that's it. Voila. When you're all done, lock everything up. Put the doo-ha on the latch. Take your bucket so it doesn't blow away in the wind. Walk it back down to the storage area. Try not to fall on the loose step. Stick it back in here. And leave it where you found it. And then lock up. 3, 7, 1, 8. Pull the handle, turn the knobby,